All right, let's dive right into Isaiah chapter 10, specifically looking at verses 20 through 34. I want you to picture this: a city completely surrounded. An enemy army that seems absolutely unstoppable is right at the gates, and it feels like all hope is completely gone. This passage, it's a dramatic story of judgment for sure, but it's also an incredible promise of deliverance against all odds.
And right away, verse 20 just lays it all out for us. It sets up this core theme, this choice between two different paths. One is the path of human strength, of military might, and it leads to ruin. The other? It's a path of faith, of relying on God, and that's the one that leads to deliverance. This is a huge shift in trust, and it really is the foundation for everything that's about to happen.
So in verses 20 through 23, we get this foundation of hope being built. Even as this unbeatable enemy is closing in, a new promise starts to emerge. This is not the end of the story. A faithful few, a remnant they're called, will actually survive and return.
Now, this idea of a remnant, which we see in verse 21, is so important. This isn't about total destruction, not at all. It's about a small, purified group that makes it through the judgment, and, as the text says, will return unto the mighty God. It's this really powerful theme of preservation, right in the middle of what looks like total disaster.
And you have to understand, this prophecy isn't just happening in a vacuum. The historical context here is everything. We're in the reign of King Hezekiah. He makes this very deliberate choice to turn back to God, to get rid of the idols. So when the Assyrian king, Sennacherib, shows up threatening Jerusalem, Hezekiah's first move isn't some clever political strategy, it's prayer. This prophecy is God's direct answer to that prayer.
Okay, so moving into verses 24 through 27, the prophecy kind of shifts gears. It goes from a promise about the future to a direct command for, right now, in this moment of crisis, do not be afraid of the Assyrian army. I mean, verse 24 gives this incredibly direct and powerful message of reassurance. God totally acknowledges the threat is real. He says the Assyrian shall smite thee with a rod, but he frames it as temporary, something that's only going to last a very little while. It's a call to look past the immediate danger to the bigger picture.
Verse 27 gives us this really stark contrast. As you can see here, the Assyrian burden, temporary. God's deliverance, permanent. And the reason given is fascinating, because of the anointing. Now, this is a direct reference to God's unbreakable promise, his covenant with King David. It's a promise that David's family line, and by extension the city of Jerusalem, would be preserved.
And now, this is where the tension just goes through the roof. Verses 28 through 32, they read like a terrifying breaking news report, giving you this town-by-town, play-by-play of the Assyrian army's relentless march straight for Jerusalem.
Just look at this map of their advance. It's a path of destruction. Each name you see, Aiath, Michmash, Geba, is another town that's fallen. The army gets closer and closer until finally they reach Nob. And from this last hill, they can literally look down and see their final prize, Jerusalem itself. The enemy is at the gate.
And this gesture in verse 32, it is the ultimate act of psychological warfare. Just try to picture the scene. This unstoppable Assyrian king, standing on a hill, looking down at the city, and just shaking his fist at it. It's a gesture of pure contempt and intimidation. It's that final arrogant threat designed to break everyone's spirit before a single arrow is even shot. So right at this moment, when all hope seems lost, with the enemy literally staring down at them, verses 33 and 34 deliver this absolutely stunning prophetic climax. The entire story just pivots in an instant from the invaders' arrogance to their sudden, shocking downfall.
The imagery in these last two verses was just incredible. Assyria is described as this massive, mighty forest of high ones, right? Arrogant, towering, seemingly unconquerable. But then the prophecy declares that the Lord of hosts is going to act like a lumberjack, taking an iron axe and just felling this entire forest. And the source material clarifies that this mighty one who does the cutting is an angel sent to carry out God's judgment.
So, that's the prophecy. Pretty amazing stuff. But did it actually happen? How does this story end? Well, our sources point us directly to the historical record in the book of 2 Kings for the incredible conclusion.
185,000. Get that number in your head. According to the account in 2 Kings chapter 19, that is how many Assyrian soldiers were struck down in a single night by the angel of the Lord, right outside the city walls.
This timeline just shows how unbelievably swift and total the fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecy was. It happens in one night,
An angel strikes the camp. By morning, the entire threat is just gone. The city that was on the brink of being wiped out is saved without even fighting a battle. King Sennacherib just retreats in disgrace and never comes back.
So we're left with this really powerful question, aren't we? This is so much more than just an old war story. It's a profound story about what it means to trust when you're facing impossible odds. It really challenges us to think about, where do we place our hope when everything seems lost?